We're not telling a myth today, we're lifting a mirror. But not one of those fancy framed mirrors sitting in the corner of a living room. More like the kind of mirror you see first thing in the morning when you catch your under-eye bags and you automatically go, okay, we're alive today. You know Thor. Thunder, muscles, a hammer, lightning, that I'm here energy. The modern world's marketing departments took Thor and turned him into protein powder. Drink it, get stronger, conquer the world. And humans bought it, because humans love easy icons more than they love hard questions. But Thor's real story isn't muscle. Thor's real story is this. Power doesn't make you free. Power, most of the time, ties you up even tighter and leaves you even more alone. And that's where we start. Picture this. There's a door, a modern door, clean, simple, no decorations. One side of the door is almost completely dark. The other side is flooded with warm golden light. And right on the threshold, there's a silhouette, like it's about to step forward. But it can't. One foot is lifted, frozen mid-step. That silhouette isn't Thor. That silhouette is you. Because this is exactly where the modern human lives, on the threshold. You can't fully let go and you can't fully move forward. You want to change jobs, but you're scared. You want to stay in the relationship, but you feel like you're suffocating. You want to leave, but guilt grabs your ankle. You want to get stronger, but you don't even know where to put that strength once you have it. We call it indecision in modern language, but myths would have called it something else. The threshold curse. Have you ever really met Thor's hammer, Mjolnir? In the old stories, that hammer is both a weapon and a tool of blessing. Sources say it's mentioned in the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda, and that in the Viking Age it was widely worn as a pendant. So Mjolnir isn't just something that smashes, it's also something that blesses. People wore it around their necks because they believed something. Protect me. Hold me up. Make me into something. Now bring that into today. Because we hang invisible hammers around our own necks. We call it goals. We call it discipline. We call it success. It looks great on LinkedIn. It looks even better on Instagram. But at 3:12 a.m., when you're rolling around in bed from one side to the other, that hammer presses down on your throat, and you suddenly realize carrying the hammer is one thing, using the hammer is another. The most watched self-improvement content in America usually makes you feel like this. I'm like you. I've been there. I've messed up too. Now come on, let's fix it together. That close friend honesty is basically the DNA of podcast culture. People don't fall in love with perfect voice experts preaching at them. They fall in love with a narrator who's real. Because the modern human problem isn't lack of information. The modern human problem is not having the emotional strength to do what they already know. And that's where Thor steps in. Thor's name appears as Thor in Old Norse and shows up in different forms across the Germanic world, and its roots are tied to the meaning of thunder. Even that alone is a metaphor, because thunder is sound. Thunder is something yelling, I'm here. But most of the time behind that sound, there's something else. Fear. Yeah, fear. Sometimes thunder isn't nature's rage. Sometimes it's nature dumping stress. Clouds build and build and build, and then they burst. Thunder is suppressed energy finally breaking out. And isn't your anger like that too? Most people say, I'm angry, but what they really mean is, I'm scared. I feel inadequate. I'm losing control. I'm not going to be loved. I'm going to end up alone. In the myths, Thor fights giants, the Jötnar. But today, the giants have different names. Today the giants are debt, delayed dreams, endless notifications, comparison culture, that feeling of everyone's doing something with their life. Why am I not? And Thor's real battle starts right there, not with the giants outside, but with the inadequacy giants inside. Think about Thor's hammer. Mjolnir's etymology is debated, and some explanations tie it to the idea of lightning. And what is lightning? A flash of light. Short, clean. It makes everything visible for 1 second. That's Myth Mirror's job, too. A lightning strike. To light up the dark places in your life for 1 second. And yeah, the darkness comes back. But you can't unsee what you saw in that 1 second. Thor has another detail. A strength belt called Megingjord. When he wears it, his power doubles. And he has iron gloves, Jangreipar, so he can even handle the hammer. Now translate that into today's language. You have a belt, too. The thing that makes you feel strong. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's status. Maybe it's your body. Maybe it's your brain. Maybe it's your ability to persuade people. Maybe it's just the identity of I'm a hard-working person. And you have iron gloves, too. The things you use to protect yourself, humor, distance, coldness, the mask of I don't need anyone, or the opposite, over-agreeing, people-pleasing, never being able to say no. These things make you look strong, but sometimes they do this. They help you hold the hammer and make you forget where you're supposed to swing it. One day, Thor loses his hammer. The stories are full of theft and retrieval motifs. Myths don't really get spoiled. Relax. The loss of the hammer isn't Thor going crazy. The loss of the hammer is Thor having an identity crisis, because Thor defined himself by the hammer. And haven't you defined yourself by something too? I'm a good father. I'm a good teacher. I'm a strong man. I carry everyone's weight. I'm not emotional. Then life comes, and it takes that identity out of your hands. And in that moment, you look into the mirror. This is where Myth Mirror really grabs the audience. Identity loss. The American audience loves this theme because there's honesty in it. Research on podcast listening says people are looking for a story and edutainment. But inside the story, they're looking for something else, too. I'm not alone. So we turn Thor into this sentence. Thor isn't lonely because he's a god. Thor is lonely because he has to be the strong one. Having to be the strong one is a kind of prison. And do you know what your biggest prison is? Other people expecting you to always be the same person, always strong, always logical, always durable, always productive, always good. And you bought into that expectation. Because remember, we said humans love easy icons. That was the second favorite thing. The first is worse. A life built to match other people's expectations. That's why we're telling Thor. Because Thor is a character trapped inside the power archetype. Thor's story isn't be strong. Thor's story is notice the cost of strength. Now, a scene. Thor travels through the sky. He has a chariot. It's pulled by 2 goats. In sources, they're called Tangrisnir and Tangjoster. People laugh at this detail. A god, but he rides in a goat chariot. But look, that's a mirror too. Modern humans want to feel like gods, but deep down, they're stuck in a goat chariot. Because real life pulls you. Bills, responsibilities, kids, work, family messages, the where are you us calls. You think you're flying through the sky. But really, 2 goats are dragging you. And now the real question, what are the goats? What are the 2 things pulling you? One is who I'm supposed to be. The other is who I want to be. And between them, trapped in the chariot, is a Thor. And that Thor is you. Self-improvement content usually yells, set goals, build a routine, wake up at 5 a.m. Sure, some of it works, but a lot of the time it makes people feel worse because the person's core problem is already, I'm not enough. And then you're telling them, do more. Myth Mirror is going to be different. We're going to say this, don't do more, hit the right thing. That's Mjolnir's whole thing. One strike, like lightning, clean, short, transformative. Here's the main axis that turns Thor into a modern human. Thor always looks like he's fighting giants. But really, Thor is fighting on the threshold. The line between who you are and who you're about to become. And that line is the most dangerous place, because time moves there. But you don't. Years pass there, but you keep saying, I'm not ready. And I'm not ready is sometimes a wise boundary, but sometimes it's fear doing a very smart impression of wisdom, and that's where Thor's hammer comes in. One side of Mjolnir is that it returns. You throw it, and it comes back. Psychologically, that's like this. No matter how much you run, you come back to yourself. Have you ever run from yourself? You ran into work. You ran into videos. You ran into scrolling social media. You ran into saving someone. But at some point in the night, you come back to yourself, like the hammer. And then the question hits you, what am I doing? Thor's story is the story of that question. Now I'm adding a confession moment in that American podcast style, because they love it. Simple, short, real. Can I tell you something? Most people think they want power. What they actually want is permission. Permission to let themselves live. Permission to mess up. Permission to slow down. Permission to say no. Permission to disappoint people. Permission to choose themselves. Thor's hammer can also be read as a symbol of choice. Who can hold it? Even modern pop culture runs with the worthy theme, but we're not leaving that to Marvel. We're bringing it back to real life. The question is, do you feel worthy of choosing your own life? Because most people live with the feeling of, I'm not worthy. When I get better, when I make more money, when I lose some weight, when I pull myself together, and then years go by, and Thor's goats are still pulling. Here's a little smile moment. Humans do this. They work out for one day, and the next day they think they're a Viking. They eat clean for 3 days, and on day 4 they go, I'm transforming. They wake up early for 5 days, and on day 6 they post a story like, discipline is my personality. Then Monday hits, and you go, wait, where were we? The myths know this. Myths understand the human talent for self-deception way too well. That's why myths give us giants. Because humans don't want to look at the giants inside themselves. So what's your giant right now? Procrastination, fear, shame. What if I fail? Thor has giants. You do too. But here's the difference. Thor doesn't deny his fear. Thor goes. And that go part is going to hit the emotional peak in Myth Mirror. Because the modern human needs to hear one word more than anything, go. Not just physically. Go from your old self. Go from your old agreements. Go from weights that were never yours to carry. Go from relationships that love you, but also consume you. Go from rooms where you learn to shrink. The moment you say that, some people get uncomfortable because humans treat comfort like it's scripture. But Myth Mirror's job isn't to soothe. Myth Mirror's job is to wake you up. Now, toward the finale, I'm opening another side of Thor. Thor isn't just a warrior, he's also seen as a protector figure. The fact that Mjolnir was worn as a pendant in the Viking Age shows that symbolism of protection and blessing. Sources also say Thor was associated with the people, tied to farmers and free men as social groups. That matters. Because Thor isn't a palace god. Thor is a life god. He knows the person in the mud. He knows the smell of soil. He knows the weight of daily life. And you know the weight of daily life too, Gungur. Kids, work, plans, goals. And sometimes that question, where am I in all of this? That's why we're telling Thor. Because Thor can tell you this. Power isn't crushing other people. Power is being able to carry yourself. And now we go back to that door. The threshold. The silhouette is still there. One foot still lifted. The dark side is your old life, old habits, old fears. The bright side is the life you don't know yet, but secretly want. And right in that moment, Thor's hammer lands in your hand as a metaphor. But you're not going to swing that hammer outward. You're going to swing it inward, at your own lies, at your own excuses, at your own tomorrow. There's one sentence, the heart of this episode. Tomorrow is sometimes not hope. It's escape. Now the music drops, your voice softens, but the sentence stays hard. Because people remember this part the deepest. Life isn't going to start one day. Life started, and you're missing it. And right there, Thor's thunder happens. But not outside. Inside, a flash, lightning. It makes everything visible, and you see it. The thing stopping you isn't the giant. The thing stopping you is a small sentence standing next to the giant. I can't. Thor doesn't like that sentence. Thor breaks that sentence like Mjolnir, and he steps through the door. The last sentence. One day, years from now, you'll wake up on a random morning, you'll look in the mirror, and for the first time, you'll feel this. I'm not betraying myself. And on that day, even if nobody applauds you, even if nobody understands you, even if nobody tells you good job, the thunder inside you will go quiet because it won't need to scream anymore because you're there now. You're on the other side of the door, and this time you're not wearing the hammer around your neck. You're holding it in your hand, and most importantly, you finally know what to hit.